Well, good evening. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Listen, y'all know I usually say good evening, good morning, good afternoon. I never know when it is that you'll be listening in or chiming in or viewing this stream. But either way, I am glad that you are here. My name is Dr. Anana Pfeiffer Darrell Home, and this is Real Talk, Real Solutions. And I tell you, this episode I'm truly excited about. Tonight we have a guest that is coming in all the way from London, from the United Kingdom, and I'm just truly blessed with the opportunity to share relationships. It's so important to have a network of people that God really puts in your life for different seasons and different times. And this amazing woman that I just happened to meet, it just happened to meet at a women's networking event while I was in London in 2019. And it's just so interesting how God does things and how He works things out and connects you with people for the time and the season. And I'm glad that my guest tonight can be here and share her experience, her testimony, and just to come and have a real conversation, but and truly to share her experience and what she brings as a solution to the world. Right. And of course, as a mom on a mission, today I've been in New York City doing this and that, different meetings, had a great lunch. But we're moving and making things happen. And she is just that. So I want to just tell you a little story. Last year, oh my goodness, right? It's almost roughly in 2021. Last year, I had the opportunity to travel to London and to have a conference called Live Your Best Life. So, a part of my stay in London, I went to. She could probably explain it better, but it was a women's expo, a women event, and there was some amazing women there. So I got to network and connect. But this one lady just stuck out to me, and we connected. And you know how you say, we're going to talk, we're going to make sure we connect, right? A lot of times we say that, but we really don't do that, right? But somehow we were very intentional in that we connected through social media and exchanging phone numbers and such. And we really did continue the relationship. So I want to say a year later, I returned back to London and I was like, listen, I'm going to be there. And, a lot of times people meet you and they're like, yeah, okay. But you know what? She's like, you're coming. We're going to meet. We're going to have lunch. And she took me. I'm going to have her share her story about this because I can't remember the name just because of what my day was today. But she invited me to this amazing, I would say 5-star, I don't know, but 5-star, 6-star, amazing, amazing hotel restaurant. And I believe we were supposed to have afternoon tea. All these other things happened. But I made it and we had such an amazing time. I mean, again, just a perfect stranger, but really not. Really a sister that we were working in total different industries and things, but really still working to build up the kingdom, working to empower youth, empower women. And it was just an incredible time. Now, her, if you read my intro, a preview to today's show, she is a certified etiquette coach. So now you guys know me. So how am I having lunch with an etiquette coach in London, having high tea? I was like, oh, am I doing this right? Well, but it worked out. I think that she might give me a C. I don't know what the grading system is in London. Um, but it was just such an awesome, refreshing time, right? I don't even think we had much time to eat. We just really talked about life and motherhood and marriage and royalty, right? Speaking about the royal class and things that were going on in London and things in the U.S. But just a great, great conversation, and I'm just excited that she has the opportunity to be with me today. So let me just tell you a little bit about my guest today is Laura Akano, and she is a certified etiquette trainer and coach. She is also a qualified childcare and play work practitioner. Laura is the founder of Polished Manners UK. It's an etiquette and social skills training and consulting company. She has contributed to etiquette related topics on radio and in newspapers, including the Washington Post. Laura has been featured in BBC programs in England and in Northern Ireland teaching etiquette. She has been working with children since 2001 and is passionate about helping children and young people develop and improve their social skills through etiquette training. It is her belief that etiquette and social skills training empowers an individual to live a positive life and enhance career and business skills. Now, she's a mother, she is a wife, she is currently writing a book on etiquette and manners for youth that will be used as a part of a student education curriculum. I can't wait to hear more about that. We did have an opportunity to share. So, Laura, I want to just say thank you for being here. Let me welcome her. If you guys can show her some love, show her some love. Welcome, welcome, Laura.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me on today. It's a real pleasure to be here. I'm really happy that I got invited and looking forward to sharing some of my experiences. So good evening, everyone, or anyone that's joined us, whether it's morning, afternoon, wherever you are. Hello,
Right.
everybody.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. So, Laura, you remember our first meeting? Listen, do you
Yes, I
remember?
did.
Tell them about the women's
Well,
networking organization.
yes, it was actually the Global Women meeting in London. It was an evening meeting that I used to go to, and I was there. And normally we'd have a couple of minutes or so just to practice a speech or talk about a program or something that we have offered. And I remember you came along with a couple of other ladies that evening. And yes, I did my 2-minute talk. I think I mentioned something to do about etiquette and civility. And then as we were networking later, I went to say, or maybe you came to say hello, I don't know, but we connected and we had a chat. And I remember you specifically saying it was the word civility that actually caught your attention, that, okay, here's someone that speaks my language.
Yes.
So that's pretty much how we started talking, and then we exchanged numbers, followed each other on social media, and well, that
Here
led
we
to your
are.
trip in London. Here we are.
Here we are, and it's so great that you even brought that up. And I wanted you to share it because everybody know, me talking about civility. One of the main platforms for us is the 4 C's, which is civility, community, creativity, and climate change. So exactly when you say civility, right? I was like, what? Wait a minute. And then etiquette. Right, I don't even, just to see that, I never even think, right, that synergy is there. And
Yes.
so, let's just dive right in. When we talk about civility, I mean, how did you make that connection? Like, it makes sense now. Once you said it, I was like, okay, we got to talk.
Yes, I mean, at the end of the day, although I went to train, I was more interested in etiquette and being certified, but I don't think you can talk about etiquette without looking at civility either, because to me there's a synergy and they work hand in hand. So it's some people would even use it in an interchangeable way, but at the end of the day they both matter in society. So there's an element to of each other. If you cross it over, there's an element that complements the other one. So that's really how the connection came about for me, which is why actually when I do talk about etiquette, I will always talk a little bit about civility, because it's just as important.
Yeah. Indeed, and I hope that even folks to get that, etiquette and civility, and that synergy and how they go hand in hand, and why it's so important. So I'm sure we'll talk more about that. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Who are you? Tell the
Right.
world today.
Who is Laura? Well, as you know, I'm Laura Akano. I'm a married mother of 2. I've got 2 adult daughters, both quite grown up now. I live in London, England, as you know, and I just love to meet people who are kind, who are respectful. I think that anybody that's known me, actually, I remember as I was growing up, particularly after I got married, there's some cousins of my husband, and they would always call me Miss Prim and Proper.
Mm.
And the reason being, because I was very I wouldn't say too hard, but I was very keen on respect and kindness, and how you should behave, and probably very, very conservative in a way in terms of my ideas and the way I dress and things. So they always used to say, oh gosh, if you go to her house, everything has to be this way. And so they always felt I was Miss Prim and Proper and things like that. So when I ended up deciding in my late 40s, this was that I am going to go and retrain and become an etiquette coach, I don't think anybody was surprised at all. That would just be so you. That is just so you. So as a person, I love order as much as possible. I love to see young people who have not just self-esteem and confidence, but pride in themselves, and who know how to conduct themselves, who know how to speak to people, who show respect. And I think that is something about me that I find is so lacking within our society at the moment. And so maybe as part of being me, as part of being Laura Akano, it was just something that I felt that this is something that I really want to be able to do something about. So if people are going to talk about me, there might be people that will say, oh gosh, and we do have a few family friends that, oh gosh, Auntie Laura is strict. But what is Auntie Laura does not like children who, well, maybe not, I wouldn't use the word like, but Auntie Laura does not accept unruly and disrespectful behavior, or maybe children that are just really think they can talk to whether adults or other people anyhow. So maybe in a nutshell, you could almost say I'm kind of old-fashioned in a way. But that's what I can say in terms of who I am and what my ideas and what my beliefs are. And so I just felt that through etiquette training in particular, because I was looking at, okay, how can we empower young people? How can we help them to gain better social skills? Because at the end of the day, all of these things we're talking about life skills here. We're not talking about something that, oh, they just do now and forget. It's going to stay with you for the rest of your life. And that is where, in the end, after a couple of years, I remember researching what I can do in terms of helping young people to gain these essential life skills. And in the end, etiquette training just seemed to fit that word. Although I know a lot of people, even adults now, when they hear the word etiquette, they probably run for the door. But it's really a lot more than that. It's a lot more than that. And that's really what the message I'm trying to get, that this is about human connection, human interaction. This is about a life that could be easy, if you know how to behave, if you know how to conduct yourself, or could be extremely difficult. So I think I'll leave it there for now and let you carry on.
No, I love it. And I like to just let you flow, because and we'll talk more about that. Of course, you're familiar with Blessed Girls, and that just went off in my head. Of course, etiquette training and training young girls early enough, right, to understand these skills. And when you speak to me, and we talk more, that the power in etiquette training really builds confidence. It really is empowering. So it's not so much the strictness or the rigidness of it. It builds your confidence when you know these skills. So this is what you told me, because I'm not the etiquette. I need to take the class, okay? So that, okay? So don't let me, but it was so encouraging, right, to know and understand that actually teaching etiquette, the power in that it really does build self-confidence. It builds, and you can speak to that, even to my true identity. Last week, right, we had Professor Busingye, who does royalty civility. And to understanding, when you know who you are, right, you know your true identity, you see yourself operating in a royalty capacity, right, then you will act and do things a certain way. And when we can teach our youth and empower them that, early on, how incredible that will be. So if you can speak to a little bit more in regards to the confidence building and the things that these life skills, how empowering that is, once folks learn that, I think that's great.
I think today or yesterday, I actually posted about one of the topics that I teach in the teenage classes, some of my teenage courses. And I just thought, let me just share something, because quite often you would hear people, oh, etiquette, the moment you say what you do or talk about etiquette to mostly adults, they would turn around and say, oh yes, young people, they need this, especially table manners, knives and forks. Most people would dash straight to talking about table manners and knives and forks. And that's really great, but that is not what etiquette is about.
Okay.
Etiquette is about kindness. It's about courtesy. It's about respect and consideration for other people. It's really about being a leader of self as well.
Okay,
So
you gotta slow down, Laura. Wait a minute, because this is good. And when you go so fast, they don't get it. So say that again. Etiquette is about kindness. Go ahead, say that again. If you guys watching,
kindness,
put that in the comments. Okay, go ahead.
it's about kindness. It's
Yes.
about respect. It's about courtesy and consideration for others. And also, you need to respect yourself. And I use that in my courses by saying being a leader of self to the teenagers, because there's so much said about leadership. And quite often I see others on social media talking about leadership and things like that. And I had to take it a step back, that hold on, you talk about leadership for young people in particular. How about starting with being a leader of self first?
Powerful.
They're taking responsibility for their own life, taking responsibility for the decisions they make.
Yes.
Does mommy or daddy have to chase you up to do your homework? Do they have to chase you up to tidy up your room?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have to ask you to help around the house? Do you iron and wash your own clothes?
Mm-hmm.
Do you tidy up after yourself? Do you volunteer to do things around the house? In terms of grooming and dressing and appearance, do you have to be told to go and maybe clip your toenails, or do you have to be told to polish your shoes? Do you have to be dragged to go and cut your hair, plait your hair? Right. All of these things are what I'm saying about being a leader of self, because if you can't manage your schoolwork, you know you have an assignment, it's got to be submitted within 3 or 4 days, and then you're just doing it the night before. It's all of these things that I teach during the course about taking responsibility, being a leader of self first. So that's talking about leadership. Then I go back to the post I was talking about. I teach about tact. And some teenagers, I've had them on some courses online and when we were doing in-person classes, say, what is tact? Mm-hmm. So I actually chose to post something about that. And I had a couple of people who follow me say, thank you so much for posting this, because we actually showed this to our teenage children. And what I was saying about tact is you need to learn that it's not everything that comes to your head you have to open your mouth to say, even if you're angry, even if you're upset about something, even if you're wrong. And this all ties into emotional intelligence.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, etiquette training really, really makes a big difference in whether a young person's life or an adult's life, especially young people. They have all this, if they have all these training from the offset, it's going to help them have a much smoother ride, because as they grow up, they would know how to, in terms of relationships, interacting with other people, how to conduct themselves in different environments and situations. And it also gives you that self-control. It does not mean that you can't express your emotions. It does not mean that you should not have feelings, but it helps you to be in control of your emotions and what to do. And so that's one of the reasons I talked about being tactful yesterday. That, for instance, if somebody, you go for dinner somewhere and you don't particularly like the food, and the lady, if you're asked, and why aren't you eating, and just, oh, the food tastes awful. But you could just say, oh, I've had some, it's really nice, but it's just that I'm quite full now. makes a big difference to saying, oh, the food tastes awful. So that's just a basic example, but we do a lot more in terms of role play. So, and it's just all of these things that help young people particularly
Yeah.
to know that, okay, when I go out, this is what I should be able to say. This is what I should be able to do. And also, once you learn about kindness and courtesy and respect, I think you will find that you will check your behavior. You will check the things you say, the way you treat people. All of that comes together. And that is kind of what I'm saying, that the fundamentals of it, it's not, the table manners are good, yes. And then again, with table manners, as I was saying in another group that I was speaking a few weeks ago, table manners, that's culturally bound. So we might use knives and forks and spoons in the United Kingdom, in America, but you go to parts of Asia and Africa, you're going to use your fingers.
Yes.
So it's
Powerful.
not one rule for everybody. And
Exactly.
again, this is what etiquette does. So I will talk to them about, from a young age, start thinking, if you're going to go on holiday with your parents, actually research where you're going. What are the customs? Do they have maybe basic greetings like hello, how are you? Just simple things. Read up on where you're going before. And if you actually know someone who's already been there, I mean, or someone from there actually that may speak the language, that's even better. And it's all of these little things that just makes you a better person and helps you to prepare in terms of how you go about things as they grow up. And so this is why I just feel that etiquette is so
It
important. But
is.
yeah,
And that's why I love this conversation because, and I want to just first shout out, we have some folks chiming in, of course, from the US. I see Manuel Kingsley. She is actually in Montreal. I see my mom is chiming in. She says that human connection, building self-confidence. Hello, Crystal. She says, good evening, kindness, respect, and courtesy. Right. And that's what I wanted to, if nothing else, and of course, what you want to share, but I really would hope that the audience gets to understand, because as soon as you see and you think etiquette, you think about the forks and the knives and where
yes,
the
and
cup
the
is. And
napkins.
right. But it's so much more to
There
it than
is.
that, and how powerful it is. So thank you. I see Judy is chiming in. She says, awesome being a leader of self first. Tact. Not everything that comes into your head has to be said. Oh my goodness. Now, how powerful is that? Because and that's again not just youth, but where the world, where would we be if this training was, I say, like you said, I know you're building actually a curriculum where
Yes,
everybody learns this, right?
this is it.
Can you see our world being in a better place where we
Much
can really,
better. Much
right, show
better.
civility and respect and courteousness to everyone? How powerful that would be.
Yes, it would be. It would be very powerful. And I just wish that more educational institutions would actually embrace
Yeah.
etiquette training into and actually bring it into the curriculum. I know in America, particularly the colleges, they actually seem to embrace this a lot and bring people in, but we are way behind here at the moment in England with that.
Wow. I was saying I would have thought just the opposite.
No,
That
it's
you
not.
guys really, but and then you speak of this even like you think like etiquette is really for the wealthy, just for the rich, and understanding that you're a part of your mission and your vision is bringing this to everyone, to
Yes.
the people of of different classes, that it's not just that. And I really feel like a lot of things we even deal with is the mindset and the identity, that teaching etiquette can shift the mindset. It
Yep.
doesn't matter where they come from, right? And what, things negative that may have, they may have,
Yes.
almost inherited. But if we can really empower and teach this etiquette and build this self-confidence and this respect, that it can really shift the mindset of generations.
Yes.
So this is how powerful it is. So I truly thank you for your work, but you can go ahead and elaborate on that.
Thank you. Right, as you rightly said, there's the idea that it's for the royal family or people with a lot of money, or if your children have been to English boarding schools, then that's what etiquette is about. But at the end of the day, it's basic human interaction. As I said, it's knowing how to behave. As I said before, it's about kindness. It's about how you speak to other people. the things you do, how you dress, how you conduct yourself. So it's got nothing to do with money at the end of the day. And I would actually say there are lots of families who are rich and yet they haven't got a clue much um, a clue about what etiquette really is, especially when you look at things to do with table manners and maybe even how they dress. So, okay, yes, we know the royal family are very much at the height of etiquette, and even some of the rules have relaxed in terms of behavior and protocol and what is allowed, what isn't. But at the end of the day, everybody, because we all have to live within the same society, we all need to know how to behave. Every aspect of our lives, whether at home, school, college, libraries, airports, if you travel on public transport, anywhere you go, there are codes of conduct, which is what etiquette is about. And that helps to inform how to behave. Everywhere you go, libraries, you're meant to be quiet. If you go to the movie theater, you're not supposed to have your phone on. You're supposed to be quiet. You shouldn't be you shouldn't have your feet maybe on someone else's chair. There's so many things that, all the day-to-day things we do, there are little codes of conduct everywhere. And so when we talk about etiquette, I'll just say to people, but it's all around you.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're aware of it or not, it's all around you. If you go to, say, the post office, we call it the post office here, and if you go to the post office, there's usually a queue. You're not going to go to the front of the queue and try and get in front of somebody without any agreement between all of you. You know you're going to join the end of the queue. That is etiquette in action, and that's how basic it can be.
I love it. I love it. And it's so many things that come into my head because you see it in action, but you see it in inaction. You see it. We are even suffering some of the results of not having this, not having this self-respect, right? It's so obvious, right? That you don't really know how to show real civility and kindness to someone else, right? We don't understand that when you that self-control, that's
Yes, which
huge.
is so
That's
important.
huge.
That it is huge, and it doesn't help when we have leaders in society, and we can all see what's going on, heads of governments, heads of states all over the world. So if these are the examples, these are the so-called role models, if we want to put it like that, that the young people are saying, or how they behave, how they speak, the things they do, then you begin to wonder, what society are we building for the future? What is it going to be like? And there is a danger that as adults, we are responsible for we know we are responsible for the future generation, but what examples are we setting for them?
Yeah.
What examples are we setting for them? Because they are looking at how adults are behaving at the moment, the things they do, the things they say. And it's like, okay, if they dress this way, if they speak this way, if they can do this and get away with it, then why can't I do it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, it's so important, and that's why I truly thank you for you know for your work. And now the thing about it, we could talk about youth and of course in adults, but I know a part of your training is you actually do like business skills and life
Yes.
skills even for adults. Can you talk to us about that? Well, again, I need
Okay.
both of those classes, but talk to me.
Okay.
Talk to me. Help me out. Help me out.
I think with business etiquette, the key thing with business etiquette is, I think civility definitely plays a big role. So
Yes.
from just, how do you interact with your colleagues at work? How do you speak to people? Do you respect other people's spaces?
Mhm.
Whether you work in an office where it's open plan or you have cubicles, how do you talk to them? Someone's on the phone, do you go and stand above them whilst they're on the phone? That is really disrespectful. You're not giving them their space. Then we look into even simple things like meetings. If you've called a meeting, there's a certain protocol in terms of attending a meeting. How do you contribute? How do you speak? How do you interact with other people at this meeting? And are you respectful? I think that's another key thing with meetings, or people either shouting down other people or just disagreeing. There's a way you can have discussions or disagree over things. Again, this is where civility comes in. They said you agree to disagree, but there are ways you can argue your point without reducing it to insults and things like that, which I believe can happen a lot in meetings. But apart from that, working with other people, it's not easy as if you've had to work with other people, we know it's not easy. But again, it's about mutual respect. Following the company policy. Because you're good at one thing does not mean that you have to put other people down. And then what about looking at some people are maybe the creative types, and you have the other people that they're very vocal in terms of oh, I know this and I know that. And sometimes it's about letting other people speak as well. Mm-hmm. in an environment, especially when you're working with other people, that it shouldn't always be the loudest person speaking. Then you have a situation where maybe you have to represent your company, maybe you have to meet a client. Do you know how to conduct yourself? Would you know how to greet them? Would you know if you were going for a meal, who pays, who doesn't pay? Should you drink? Should you not drink? And some people also seem to forget that when you're representing your company, even from the moment you're leaving, whether you travel to another country, everything you do is a reflection of that company. Mm-hmm. And that is so important to always remember. And I think people let their hair down a little bit when they go on business trips, and forgetting that actually I'm here on business, I'm still representing my company. So there's so many things that you just really need to be aware of in terms of business etiquette, even from what do you do on social media? What sort of things do you post? What do you talk about? Yeah. All of those things matter. You never know what you might put up that your boss might see that could cost you your job. Then you look at email communication. We have so many methods of communicating now. Are you doing it properly? Are you addressing people properly? Do you know how to use email properly? Are you breaking your company policies? There's such a myriad of things in respect to that we could go on, but I've just touched on a few, some of the basic things in terms of working with other people, even common courtesy like good morning, good night, and just really treating other people as you would like to be treated. So I'll just leave that in terms of business etiquette. And also one thing that I also find quite interesting, I've worked with a few people on that, is can they send messages at any time? Can they do? No, there has to be a cutoff time, especially when it's to do with business. There's a certain time that you should send an email, maybe at a certain time during the day, but after a certain time, then it should have to wait till the following day. The same thing with whether you have someone's text message, whether you want to send a text message or whether you want to call someone. If it's business, there are protocols for all of these things. And these are the things. I have people sending me an email. Sometimes I'll wake up and the following day they've sent it at past midnight, or a message on my business WhatsApp. And I'm thinking, I even had an inquiry on Christmas Day last year. And these are the sort of things you think, do people not, the lines might be blurred, but there's still boundaries where business etiquette, where business is concerned. And people just don't seem to pay attention to that. My husband is a self-employed accountant, and you would have clients phoning him up sometimes 10 o'clock in the evening, sometimes on Sunday. And these are things that people really need to get a grasp on, that because someone is either self-employed, I mean, most big organizations, they Monday to Friday, they're right. Not opened over the weekend. You're not going to call them at that time. So just because someone is a small business or they're self-employed does not give you that liberty to do that. But I'll just maybe leave that there for now.
No, I think it's good because, of course, dealing with the pandemic, most people are working from home, right? So you think that, they're just accessible. So even when you talk about those boundaries, I feel like it's certainly important. Of course, dealing with moms, we saying that are working from home, trying to take care of your children, and then,
Yes.
your boss, and there's a project and people pulling on you, the kids need to be fed, you know what I mean? They need to get to practice. There's so many moving parts. And I think, like you're saying, that etiquette, if you are even from a managerial, from a leadership standpoint, that these are things that we need to consider, right? And make sure that
Yes.
they play a part in how we work with our team.
It is very important. I think I did post something about leadership some time ago, that particularly now that leaders, the managers or senior managers, they need to respect that the fact that people are working from home does not mean that you can just call them at any time, as long as they're doing the work. And I think this is where, again, social and emotional intelligence comes in, and having empathy, because a lot of these managers know, particularly for females, I think the same thing for the dads as well, probably, that they've most likely got their children at home. So there has to be a little bit of leeway, but that does not mean that, after working hours, you're expecting them to still carry on working. And I have heard from a lot of people that they seem to be doing more work at home than when they were going into work. And so that's causing a lot of stress. And so these are things I believe that the managers need to be aware of, especially if you are a good manager. Anyway, if these are their hours, and then you try and accommodate within those hours, and nothing should come after that, especially if you know that, they've got children at home that they're also having to homeschool, then all of those things really should be taken into account.
Yeah. And all why this is so important, because there's so many different aspects that we're speaking about the youth, right? You're talking in the business arena, but then even for managers, for directors, for administratively,
yes,
there's a different level of etiquette, right? And consideration.
Yes.
That is necessary, and I can say that it's lacking. I think it was a week or two ago. There was a awesome report on CBS here in the U.S. about women leaving the workforce, literally leaving, or even taking jobs, moving because of the stress, because again, not having these boundaries, not being treated with respect and with kindness, as a mother, and that they're like, you know what, I'll go somewhere else, or I'll just work from home, or become a consultant where I can be in an environment where I can still, somewhat have some type of normalcy or balance, if you will, and my life, my whole entire life is respected. So I know, and it's huge numbers of women that are doing that, or maybe even taking, lesser paying jobs, or changing in even in their position, simply because they want to be in a space where they feel like they're being appreciated for the role that they play at work, but also at home, and the responsibilities that they have. That is certainly being done.
I can understand that, because it is tough, and it's been a tough year, and you kind of have to weigh it up, that especially if you have children, what's more important.
Yeah.
So it's yes.
For sure. So the one thing about Moms on a Mission is that, one of the key things that I work on is, like, you don't have to postpone your purpose. Right. There's no, of course, being a parent, that really you still can live a fulfilled, fabulous life, if you will, while being a mom, right? And the thing about you, and a little bit more about your story, is you made a change, you made a shift, right? You were doing, and that's definitely a part of my story, working, as an administrator, and then, having to shift and go into entrepreneurship and being a World Civility Ambassador, changing. And it's okay to do that. We have so many gifts and talents, right? And things to fulfill our purpose that God has given us. And I would like for you to share a little bit about that in your story, because I think, more so you were in early childhood and childcare and things of that, and then you shifted. So if you could tell us a little bit about that process, because I know it was a process. I know that's a part of your story. Can you talk to us about that today?
Oh, thank you. Well, the bottom line was family had to come first for me. Everybody is different. I was in a very good job. I was working with Nestle UK at the head office. I had a very good job, but then I had two young children, and one of them wasn't particularly very well over a period of time. And I remember I would, you know, she would be ill, sometimes still persuade her to go to school, juggling the job and a sales team and a manager. And I just seemed to be chasing my tail, basically, always tired. And the decision day came for me. I remember very well. She was just about 5 and she wasn't very well that morning. I, got her up, got her dressed. Oh, mommy, I was not really feeling well. I just said, okay, we'll see. Let's try and get you to school. All because I wanted to try and get to work. And she went to school. I went to work. I dropped her off at school. And I remember by about 11 o'clock, the school called me and said she really isn't feeling very well. Could I come and get her? I picked her up and I remember looking at her. Actually, from the time I got the phone call, I was already crying that I knew she wasn't very well, but I thought she could go to school. Sometimes they do that, children do, and they perk up. But this time, no. So rushed off and told my boss I'm going to pick my daughter up from school, picked her up, and I just knew that something was wrong. Took her straight to the doctors. And from there, straight to the hospital, and she was transferred by ambulance to another hospital. And in the end, all the tests, she had to have an operation. And that was the period that enabled me to make up my mind that no, this 9 to 5, I'm not doing this anymore. So I began looking at what I could do. And I remember a friend saying to me, oh, but you're very good with children. Why don't you do something where you can look after children? And this came about because if I take 2 or 3 weeks off of the summer holidays, all my friends, they would dump their kids with me. I'll take them off to London. We'll have day trips and things. And I was doing this, I wasn't charging them. And so I started looking at the idea of maybe play schemes. And I wasn't even happy with the ones my daughters were going to at the time, because they would go to play schemes so I could go to work and things. So this is how I started thinking of what to do. And in the end, I worked on it for about 18 months and I was able to start a small business of my own, running what we call after school clubs and holiday play schemes. And gradually I grew this from one, and at a period of time, I think I had about 6 at different primary schools in my local area, and had quite a number of staff, and we were running after school. We ran breakfast club and we would run during the school holidays. And I was able to be there for my daughters, take them to school, pick them up from school, extracurricular activities. We would go on holiday together. And yes, it was tough the first few years in terms of income and building up a new business, but I had that peace of mind and I had time for my children. And the experiences I had also had before the two of them, I think all of that kicked in because I had lost my very first child, a son, a few years before my first daughter was born. So I just knew that, no, this 9 to 5 is not going to cut it. This too, I knew what I'd gone through to have them, and I'm not going down that route. So I had all the time, and it was, for me, it's not a decision I ever regretted. So I did that for about 14 years until eventually it came to a situation where government cutbacks and funding issues meant that different schools decided they wanted to run these programs themselves, as opposed to people like me who were operators. So that was when I had to start thinking of what else I'd like to do. So this was kind of very late 40s. And then that's how the idea came that actually a lot of these children I've been working with, because they always used to say, oh my goodness, Mrs. Akano is so strict. And this is all because I was very hot on politeness and behaving well and good manners and things like that. So I started looking at it that with the number of children I had worked with and the behavior of the children and even the parents as well, I realized that actually if the parents don't know any better, how can the children know?
Mm.
And so that's how the idea came. What can I do to help these children to develop better social skills? It took me a while, but eventually that's how I came up with the idea of starting an etiquette training business and looking at how to get obviously certified and trained myself. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much how I started.
You know, it's so interesting, you know, of course, to hear just a bit of your story, in regards to, you know, because it's usually something that like that hits you, you know what I mean? Like something got to change. I can't, you know, because we keep going, we keep moving, we think we're doing the best, you know, and in our mind and in our heart we are, but it takes, you know, something to say, nah, this ain't it. Like, you know, there's more, there's other things that you can do, and then
Yes.
what's being sacrificed, you know. So is that, like I say, those come to Jesus moments where you have to say, what, okay, Lord, I hear you, you know, and he certainly does use our children, you
Yeah.
know, or our spouses, those that are closest to us, to help us to get to where he wants us to be. And so that's really, really powerful, because I get it. I know, I think all mothers, probably even fathers too, but all you and our moms, right? So that's what we can talk
Yes.
about. We've had
Yes.
those moments where our kids will just say, you know, something will happen, or we'll see it, and it'll just hit us like, okay, this is not good. You know what I mean? Like I've got to change. I have to shift, because what I'm doing, you know, I can do better, and then what I'm doing is it is causing harm, you know, to our children. So I totally get that. I know one story. I remember my son, my middle son. He's soccer now, but at that time he was really good at football. I mean, he was like awesome. Everybody wanted him to play. He was doing well, but it really wasn't in him. You know,
Oh,
but I didn't know. I'm just like, oh yeah, he's doing well in it. He's good in it. I'm getting him there. I'm driving him there. Till one day we're driving. All right, drink this, do whatever. We're going. And I looked in the back seat and he was crying.
wow.
I was like, what are you crying? Like, you know, what is it? And he just did not want to play. And I was like, well, we can turn this car around, son. Like, you don't have to do it. But I just felt like, okay, hey, why did, you know, did he tell me and I didn't pick up on it, you know, or, you know, the fact that I'm having him do something that he doesn't want to do. And then everybody, because he's so good at it, right? Everybody wants him to play,
To
but
do
it's
it,
not
yes.
really in his heart. And so those was one of those lessons for me, you know, to be sensitive and try to, you know, adapt and shift my mindset, because I just can be on go. When it's focused, you want to do something, let's do it, you know, but to be able to make that shift. And so that just came to my mind when you were thinking about it, but I'm sure you have many mom moments like that,
Yeah,
you know, that things that happen and they just really shift us, and we'll never forget, you
it
know, those
does.
moments, if you will, you know.
Mm, yeah.
So it's interesting, but yeah, so and I just love it, because I like to see, you know, a lot of times we do one thing and we do it well and we get stuck there, you know,
Yes.
as a mother, as a woman, okay, because of that, but there's other things. And then that even talks about the comfort zone, where, you know, they said nothing really good comes out of a comfort zone, because, you know, you get into this career, you're making, you know, money, you're there, you're comfortable, but, you know, I promise you, I know for me, God was like, nah, it's time to move, time to do something different, right? And to get uncomfortable and to explore, more of the purpose and the calling that is on your life. And I'm excited when I see other women that have done just that. So if you will, I mean, because that's business, you know, you built an amazing company even in doing that, and then you shifted to this. So what
Yes.
advice would you give, to, again, mothers out there now that may be considering, you know, starting their own business, or, you know, doing something different, or making that shift or that transition as you have done a few times now?
Yes, I think a lot of it has to be, um, I think your conviction, and also if the timing is right. I think that's quite important, because the time that the first business, when I changed from working in the corporate field to this business, I mean, to me, the timing was right. I could afford to do it. Whereas maybe someone else, they couldn't afford to lose that income.
Right.
So it might not be the best time for them. And I have actually forgot to mention that when I started, I actually did not leave my job till 6 months later, because what I did was I actually employed staff to start running it
Okay.
for the first 6 months, and then I then joined about 6 months later. So again, for someone looking to change, they really need to weigh it up properly, if the timing is right, if they can afford to do it, or if they can't afford to do it, then keep working towards it. Like I did, and I even know someone who started working part-time and then started her business part-time as well. And eventually she was able to build the business up and then give up the part-time job. So again, it's thinking about your position, your situation. Can you afford to do it? If you can, great, then go ahead. But I think it's not letting fear get a grip, because sometimes you just have to be bold and just say, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to try it. Yeah. I've had another business that I went into with someone that cost me quite a lot of money. So again, the experiences along the way, hopefully you make the right choices and things go smoothly, but without dipping your feet in the water, you're not going to know what the temperature is. But if it's really something that's in you, if it's really something that you want to do, I find that somehow you would find a way to do it.
Absolutely. Well, those are a few things that you touched on. First of all, fear. You're right, and not letting fear lead you,
Yes.
And I say, always replace fear with faith, right? Yes. But of course, wisdom and things like that. But are you operating out of fear? It is certainly key in that way. And so I certainly like that point as word of inspiration to folks, because there's no reward without a risk. Like it's risky business out here. You know what I'm saying? Like honestly,
it is. And to be honest, even I'm talking the second. I mean, both businesses. I have to be honest with you. Would I say I wasn't afraid? I was scared, because to start with, the first one I knew nothing about. The second one was exactly the same thing, apart from the fact that I'd grown up in a home where to some degree some form of etiquette and discipline had been instilled. But what did I really know about etiquette? What did I know about looking after children, being a registered childcare? And nothing.
Wow.
But I still stepped out. It took me about 3 years after I started to get all my different qualifications and things. But I just went for it. So I knew nothing about the first one. I knew nothing about the second one. But now...
You got to tell us that, Laura. Come on now. Wait a minute. I didn't even know. Well, I knew how you were talking me about the path to the etiquette training and certification, but I didn't even know, even when it came to the childcare, that it all was about you stepping out on faith.
Yeah, I did. I had no experience. I had nothing. no experience.
That's big.
To be registered, I had to employ qualified people who had childcare practitioner qualifications. Right. So then after I started running the business, trying to grow it, then I started doing my own studying and to get my own qualifications on the side as well. And that's what I did.
Wow. Now that's huge. That's a big part of the story, Laura. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Probably
just gotta make sure you put that in there. Like that's huge. That is huge, because a lot of times we feel like we gotta have the perfection, or we gotta have. They always say, oh, "Let me get my ducks in a row." Man, them ducks, if you know, like I know, they ain't gonna never be in a row.
Yes, you just have to go in. Well, sometimes feet first or head first, whichever one
just
people
jump.
would say. And that's what I did. I mean, I ended up getting for the early years, I got my qualifications. For play work, I got my qualifications, health and safety, food hygiene, everything. I ended up, just and even special educational needs as well. I ended up getting qualifications in that, which I can still use to work even now if I want to.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So yeah,
awesome. Awesome. That's a great story, because I always say people see you now, right? But they don't know the journey, right? They say people see me, but they just don't know. That's always like, people will see your
It's
glory, but they don't
yes,
know your story, to know that you like just stepped out. Like, this is it. This is what I'm gonna do. Don't know how to
yes,
do it. Don't know. But that's really faith. As Dr. Martin Luther King says, listen, faith is taking the first step, even when
it
you don't
is.
see the whole staircase. And I always
Yes,
encourage people to that. If it don't work, okay, you don't even ever really lose. Listen, it's the lesson was learned. You are stronger for it. You are wiser for it.
yes.
Like, there's no, I'm not gonna lose. Like, what I got to lose? And I know, like you say, even one business where you lost money. There's plenty of billionaires and millionaires that invested and lost money, right? But if they would have
Yes.
stopped there, then what? They wouldn't
Then
be
you
where they
keep
are
going.
today.
Yes, you keep going. And even with this current business, I know about maybe 3 years ago, I really was contemplating just pulling the plug and maybe looking for a job or doing something, because apart from the negativity I had from certain people around me, and then the barriers, because it was almost like, okay, who who do you know that's your skin tone that's teaching this in England? And even from uh, the rejection and the
Talk
experiences
about
I've
it.
had with some of the clients in terms of people who have inquired, I kind of got to, I remember one year and I just thought, "Ah, maybe I shouldn't be doing this." But then the sort of bullish side of me thought, you know what? I'm going to change things. People looking at my website and thinking, oh, who is she? What color skin is she? And I just decided, because I remember I had my mentor who had, and she trained me initially as well. She was on there as well, looking at this image that, okay, perhaps not just because it's a predominantly Caucasian or white people that teach etiquette in England, and she was on there as, okay, that I sort of had someone else who was not just a black person. And I do remember losing um, a client because they thought that she would be the one that would come and do the training. This is something that had been agreed, although they hadn't paid, but everything was going to go ahead. And then I remember her calling and saying, oh, is it Sue coming? And Sue was my trainer, my mentor, who was on the website as an associate. And that was the day I decided I would just take her picture, everything about her off the website. This is me, this is who I am. If you want to work with me, you work with me. But at that point, I was 50-50 either way,
Mhm,
call
mhm,
it a day or just go ahead. And I thought, no, I really have a passion for this, and I'm not going to let the attitudes of some people. I've spoken to people on the phone before, and the first thing they say is, oh, you have an accent. And I'm thinking, about almost everybody in England has one accent or the other, apart from, if you have RP received pronunciation kind of
mhm.
tone.
Yeah.
But otherwise, and I'm thinking, so why are you asking me that question? And I quite often say yes. Although I'm British, but I actually grew up, my first 18 years were spent in Nigeria. And I know because of that, there are people who, for whatever reason, they've not
Mhm.
gone ahead with booking me, but it's fine. But I'm glad that all of these just made me stronger and not to give up.
Yes. I love it. I love it. And that's the real power in that, is again the not giving up, the fact that, and I always say, you're just not my tribe. Like, I'm gonna keep on working. So the person
Yes.
that's assigned to me, like, you don't want me, I don't want you either. Like, it's okay. Look, if you ain't vibing with me, I ain't vibing with you. We all right. I'm good with who I am. Like, I'm good
Yes.
with being me,
Yes. Yes.
and especially even in business. And I'm sure you had to like learn that. But that's the tough part.
Yes.
That people don't really necessarily know. Again, they see you, but they don't really know behind the scenes the struggles and the things that you have to go through. Absolutely. I mean, and let's just deal with it. That race plays a race
It
racism,
plays in
sexism.
everything.
This is what we're dealing with.
Yes,
You
in
can't take
every.
that off and be something else. You know what I mean?
No,
I
no,
can't
no.
change my skin, make me look like somebody else. I just can't. So either you're gonna rock with me or you're not. Like,
And
if you value
that's
me, you
yes.
value me.
Mhm. That's been my attitude. But you can't, I can't talk about myself and not talk about those experiences, because they've been very, they've their experiences I've had, and things I've been through. So some, even now, okay, the business is growing and I'm so grateful to God for that. But people might look at you sometimes and think, oh, it's all right for this person, or it's all right for that person, but they don't know the journey.
Yeah.
They don't know the difficulties, and even still, even now, they don't know, what
Mhm.
you've been through to get where you are.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important to tell our stories. I'm learning more and more, to be my authentic self. Not even so much, I mean, because I done been through it, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. But I know that there's somebody today that really wants to start, but they feel like they're not qualified. They feel like they don't have everything, but you are a testimony of that, and we are here to inspire and encourage, right? Or they might be at the point where, like you said, 50-50. You know what? I don't know. Like, this is, I really feel like throwing in the towel,
Yes.
but by, seeing us today, hearing your story, that I pray that, they know that, listen, there's people rooting for your rise. We might not even know you, see you, but we feel you. You know what I mean? And we understand the struggle and the process, but to keep going, to keep moving forward, and going forward. And I always say, don't postpone your purpose. If it's purposeful, God has assigned you to this, then you go ahead. You've answered the call and you keep moving forward. So that's good. So any last closing words? I know it's late. You are over the pond. You are 5 hours ahead, 6 hours, 5 hours, right?
Four now.
4 now with daylight. Okay, yes, yes, yes. So you're 4 hours ahead. And I just appreciate you. I'm so happy for the relationship. You guys stay tuned, because I know we're going to be doing some things. This pandemic threw off a little bit, but we still are connecting and working together. But I know, especially with Blessed Girls, that I'd love to have you come and work with us and help us collaborate as we really empower and uplift and build these leadership skills in the future, and the females today for the future. So I'm certainly looking forward to more collaboration as we go forward. But anything else that you want to share in closing to the audience today?
Okay, I mean, I think what I just want to say is, for people not to give up on their dreams. And usually I say dreams because if you have something that keeps popping into your head, or this project, or try this or try that, you don't give up on it. Just start from somewhere. The worst that can happen is it doesn't work out. But if you keep getting that sixth sense, that something keeps telling you, oh, try this, you need to do this, you need to do that, there are those niggling things that keep coming. You think about it, you forget about it, you think about it, you forget about it. And this is based on my experience. Then that probably means you need to go for whatever it is. And yes, the fear will be there, because it's there for everybody. But at least you would say, I tried it, and most likely it would actually work out. So don't give up on your dreams, and just push yourself out of your comfort zone. It's not easy. And even now, I'm sure we all still struggle with different things that we think, oh, I want to do that. And yet we're still struggling a little bit. Oh, I can't put myself out there, or I can't do that. But until you've tried, you don't really know how it's going to work out. So just give it a go.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. I get it. I love it. Move out of faith. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Go ahead and give it a try. What you got to lose? What you got to lose? So thank you so much, Miss Laura Akano. I thank you. I appreciate you for the sisterhood, for the connection. And again, I look forward to what God has in store for Polished Manner. Polished Manners. They can
Manners,
find you
yes.
is on Instagram.
Instagram. I'm on Facebook as well as Polished Manners.
Yes. So please, guys, make sure you connect, follow her pages there. She does give some awesome encouragement and tips there regularly, weekly, daily, if you will. So Polish Manners UK, please make sure you connect with this amazing sister. And I thank you. I appreciate you. And continue on, sis. I'm rooting for you over here.
Thank you
Over here
very
on
much.
this side, we certainly got you covered. So I thank you for all that you do, and continue the work that God has given you at this time. Okay, sis.
Thank you so much. And thank you for the wonderful work that you're doing as well. It's been great knowing you. And thank you to everybody that joined as well. Thank
Yes.
you very much.
Yes, yes, yes. So listen, guys, guess what's happening? Guess what's happening? This actually was our last episode for this season, the first season. We've been going for 6 months. We started, I want to say May, June, July, August, September, October. Yes, 6 months straight. Uh, every Wednesday we've been here and even extended it. We had some conferences, some civility conferences. But I tell you, it's been incredible. I thank everyone who has supported, have been watching and sharing and liking and commenting. As you know, we have our episodes live on Facebook. We have our podcast, Real Talk, Real Solutions. We're on Instagram. You'll find, where am I at? Blessed Girl TV, Moms on a Mission. It depends on which episode it was. But I truly just want to just say thank you, a big thank you to everyone. So listen, we're taking a break. November and December, we're taking a break and we're coming back 2021. Oh man, I'm starting to get the lineup. I'm starting with the lineup. So I want you guys to just stay tuned. And again, I appreciate the support in Real Talk, Real Solutions. And if you have a story, if you are a person that is passionate about either of the 4 C's, civility, community, creativity, and climate change, I would love to hear more about it. I would love to have this opportunity to hear about your story, but also encourage and inspire others. So listen, guys, it's Dr. Anana Pfeiffer Darrell Home. I appreciate you. I thank you so much. Thank you for rocking with me for season 1 of Real Talk, Real Solutions. Yes, yes, yes. So I thank you. I appreciate you. So stay tuned. I'm sure I'll be popping on, giving some other things. We have some amazing things planned, but we're going to come back even bigger and better in 2021. So thank you so much, guys. Listen, you know what we do. Continue to be bold, to be you, and to be blessed, girl. Love you for watching. Love you for listening. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great day, great evening and night.